Well, welcome everyone to the Middlesex County Council meeting, Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 at 1 p.m. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and I just have a few remarks to make. October was a busy month for the childcare and early years sector. October 18th was Childcare Worker and Early Childhood Educator Appreciation Day. Yesterday, there was a PD Day for childcare and early years professions in Middlesex and London. To support ongoing learning, the provincial and federal governments are supporting 2 professional development days for childcare and early years professions. Over 1,600 individuals registered for the day. Early childhood professions are essential to our economy and community. The work they do provides children with amazing learning experiences. Childcare professionals play an important role in helping create a high-quality early learning and childcare system that is inclusive for all families and supports the intellectual, emotional, social, and physical development of children. It gives caregivers the opportunity to participate in work or advance their education. It provides a stable, safe, caring environment where children can thrive. To all childcare and early years professions, thank you for your dedication and compassion to the children and families you serve in Middlesex County. And those who know me know my mother was a professor at Fanshawe for early childhood education. And that was very near and dear to her heart and something that I grew up with all my life. And I think that we cannot support children enough and the people that work with them. It's the best way to start people off. Also, again, I want to thank this council's support throughout the years for the early year center at River Heights. It's going to make a huge difference to our community, and we're really looking forward to having it being completed. So now I'm going to move on to our next motion is, actually, I'd like to say that 11A1, the county orientation videos, and 1113A2, the land acquisition item for closed session, needs to be deleted from the agenda. So I'd like someone to move that for me, please. And that would be Councillor Ropp, seconded by Councillor Richards. All in favor? So moved. Now, now's the time to find out if anybody has any disclosure of pecuniary interest. And anybody have any? Seeing and hearing none. Now moving on to business arising from the minutes, which I don't see anything. But now we move on to 4A, minutes of the October 11th, 2022 meeting of County Council. I'd like these minutes to be approved and that the recommendations made by the Committee of the Whole as set out in the minutes of October 11th, 2022 be adopted. So mover for this, please. Councillor Mayhew, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All in favor? And now moving on to 4B, closed session minutes of the October 11th, 2022 meeting of County Council. And these are to be approved as presented. Mover, Councillor Burghardt-Jessen, seconded by Councillor DeVitt. All in favor? So moved. And no deputations. Any inquiries or notice of motion? No extra reports? So moving on to new business. 8A, MLPS strategic plan update. And that is a report from our chief, Neil Roberts. And whenever you're ready, Neil, go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Warden, and through you to members of council. So this report that is before you today is a report back on our strategic plan, which council has been briefed on earlier. Out of that strategic plan, through our approved consultants, ORH, came 16 key recommendations, which are contained in the report. So the report itself identifies the recommendation and MLPS's response. I'm not going to go through each of the recommendations one by one, but I'm just going to highlight a couple of the areas. So one of the areas it talks about is the increase in the call volume that was projected over the next 5 years at 10%. And as council is aware of through our report at the end of August and obviously ongoing issues, we're currently seeing this year alone a 6.1% increase in our call volume, as well as increase in offload delays. So our team continues to monitor this, and we we will continue to report back to County Council with respect to our current system pressures that we're experiencing. We're not alone. This is what we're seeing throughout Ontario, Canada, and we're also seeing it worldwide as an impact coming out of COVID. So most paramedic services and hospitals are seeing a sustained strain on their healthcare systems. The other area talks about engaging wider healthcare system partners, and council's familiar with one area that we have put forward, and that is the proposed pilot for a first response unit. The other area that the report talks about is dispatch itself and control of the entry point, which has been an issue that's been for County Council for years. These are two issues that the warden, yourself, and your delegation working with the city presented to Minister Jones at AMO. We continue to advocate for those two areas, the FRU and dispatch. And that advocacy continues as of late of last week with Minister Jones's office. So it is still an issue that we continue to advance given the current systems. Also, with regards to the issues on the system, there was a meeting that was convened late last Friday at 4 p.m. by the Assistant Deputy Minister with the presidents and paramedic chiefs of Hamilton, London, and Windsor, given the Southwest corridors issues that you've probably read about. Regarding the offload delays and the increased call volumes and the impact on the system. So that was a productive meeting where the various hospital presidents were able to identify what they're doing. And certainly the paramedic chiefs, as well as to what actions that we're putting into place. There are other, obviously, recommendations that are contained in here. The one area, Madam Warden, that I would just probably like to highlight is that while the recommendations are here, the majorities that deal with any financial implications will be advanced to the 2023 budget review committee, committee of the whole, and county council for consideration in 23, 24, and any other years. So what we're seeking is the receipt of the information at this time, and that any financial impact will be dealt with by county council at a later date as well. So I'll pass it back to you, Madam Warden. Happy to address any questions that council may have.
Thank you. So council, it's quite a good report, I think. Lots of information there. Any questions that you would have for Neil at this time? Councillor Burkhart-Jessen.
Great. Thank you. Through the warden. I will echo what the warden said, Neil. This is a great report. And I guess the way it is with the recommendations, what sort of, I guess, feedback are you going to continue to give us? Do you have a communication plan as to how you're going to tackle some of these recommendations and where we are in working through them?
For the question, certainly we've got a twofold plan. Obviously, one is to ensure that county council is regularly updated, especially with regards to our calls, the offload. That's a real-time issue that we're dealing. Like this week alone, we have seen a drop in the calls and a drop in the offloads, or an improvement. So, but to be fair, we are now moving into influenza season and a further stage of COVID, and we're now dealing with respiratory illness for pediatric patients as well. So we expect that we'll have some play. Our goal as well is to, besides regularly updating council on our system issues and where we are, to also report back on a regular basis where we are with the strat plan and what our progress is. Where we are advancing along. This is a living document, as council is aware of. So we want to make sure that what was identified by the consultants is what we're able to implement as well. And if there are any changes, to regularly update county council on those plans, or need to consult back to county council on the path forward.
Warden, just over here.
Oh, sorry.
Just to quickly add to that, you know how we also incorporate strategic planning items into our regular reports here. You're going to start seeing those pop up as well in regular communication. So I think the next time you're going to see that would be probably during the budget session for the authority board will be there. We're also using this as a starting point to have a conversation with city council as well. So you're going to see a whole communication plan around there. Neil and I finished recording a video just about the master plan that actually has a specific purpose to be included in the orientation videos for city council. So you're going to see a lot of it. It's going to be plastered all over these recommendations and then linkages directly back to financial and communication strategy. I think for the next 4 to 5 months, you're going to see a lot of that until we get some of these implemented.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, so I have an updated recommendation here that this report be received for information, and that the recommendations contained within this report be received for information, and that the Chief, Middlesex London Paramedic Service, be directed to ensure any costs related to the recommendations are contained in the draft 2023 and future budget submissions for consideration and support. Oh, sorry, Joanne, you just came out of nowhere there. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. If you get a mover and a seconder, I'll ask my question after that's on the floor.
Okay, so I had a mover with Councillor Richards, seconder, Councillor Mayhew, and Joanne, whenever you're ready.
Sorry, I was late. I couldn't get onto the web. Couple of questions just to follow up on the recommendations. One, and I'm sorry if this question's already been asked, that the recommendations contained within this report be approved. And I always have difficulty with the next piece where it says and future budget submissions for consideration be supported. I don't know what those budget considerations will be. So it's hard for me to say yes to a report when I don't know what the ramifications are going to be budget wise. Also, in the report, it talked about introducing the pilot project for Treat and Refer 911. Was that already approved? Neil, I'm sorry, I didn't remember that being approved. I remember that being one of our requests.
Go ahead, Neil.
Thank you, Madam Warden, through you to Councillor Vanderheyden. So maybe I'll take the PRU first of all. So that is a pilot proposal that has gone to Minister Jones in the province. And so we're waiting final, draft approval of that before it comes back to County Council. But the proposal that was made to the province and Minister Jones is funded through Ontario Health through funds through their HISH pilot. So it's 100% funded and is not impacting the county, city, or our land ambulance. It is a pilot that was proposed at 100% funding.
And Councillor Vanderheyden, we have an updated motion here that I read out that doesn't have the approved part in it. It's just received for information. So it had to be modified because we're in lame duck. So, okay. All right. So I have a mover, I have a seconder. So now I'm going to ask to call the vote. All in favor?
Oh.
Any opposed? Joanne, are you still there?
Yeah, sorry, I had my hand up, but I guess when I have my video down, you can't see that.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on now to 8B MLPS Response Time Standards Performance Plan. And again, Adam, it looks like you've got a new seat, so it must be you taking this. Go ahead.
So through you, Warden, to County Council, every year Middlesex London Paramedic Service is required to submit a response time performance plan to the Ministry of Health for the following calendar year. County Council does have the opportunity to update or make changes to this plan at any time throughout the year. Currently, Middlesex London Paramedic Service is meeting these established targets, and for the year 2023, Middlesex London Paramedic Service is recommending that there are no changes that are made to the current and approved response time performance plan that was previously approved by County Council.
Okay. Any questions? No. Okay, then there is a recommendation. Oh, sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the warden to Adam. How much more strain is it this year to meet those times with the amount of code zeros and different things we always hear about? is there more strain on it to reach this, or more crews, or what do you have to do to meet that?
So through you, Warden, to Councillor Rob, there is increasing call volume. The offload delays do provide or do create a strain. Currently, the revised response times, we're still able to meet those response times that we have that are established there. But Middlesex on a paramedic service keeps a very close eye on those response times. We do a lot of analytics and we do a lot of reporting back to council to keep track of what our response times are. So we're very cautious and very aware of where we're starting to see those pressures, and we do our best to manipulate and move the vehicles and the responses around so that we can keep meeting those response times.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we have a recommendation that County Council accept this report and notify the Ministry of Health that the response time performance plan will remain unchanged for 2023. If for any reason it is determined that the plan needs to be changed, it can be done at any time with the Ministry of Health at the direction of Middlesex County Council. So looking now for a mover, and that would be Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Corneliuson. All in favor? So moved. Any comments? No. Then I have a bylaw here for 10A 7199, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the October 25th, 2022 meeting of County Council. Mover, Councillor Mayhew, seconded by Councillor Richards. All in favor? So moved. Now moving to the Committee of the Whole, I need a motion. There's all bylaw. Oh, it's not on here. Well, going back to this bylaw, I need a third and final reading for it. So who would like to do that? That would be Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All in favor? So moved. And now I need a motion to go into the Committee of the Whole. Who'd like to do that? Councillor DeVete, seconded by Councillor Mayhew. All in favor? So moved. Okay, and we no longer have 11A1, so we're going to move right into 11A2, Communications Strategy Update. And I'm really looking forward to this report. So go ahead.
Thank you, Warden Warwick. So Paul and I wanted to bring a 6-month update to council on the communications strategy implementation. We've been working to implement the year 1 recommendations, and we're happy to report that we have seen an increase in social media followers as well as an increase in traffic to the website. So Paul's here to speak about some of the analytics that we've seen.
Hi, everyone. So in terms of social media analytics, we have analytics here from 3 of our main social media platforms, which are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. These analytics are from the time communication strategy started at April 6th to last week of October 19th. So profile visits are the number of times the Middlesex County page was visited, and page reach is the number of people who saw any content from the county page, such as posts, stories, etc. So some of the high numbers to highlight here is Facebook with 46,353 reaches and Twitter having 7,840 profile visits. And one thing to note here too is that these analytics don't include any paid ads or contests. So it's great to see our pages getting some traction organically. And moving on to some of the social media following and the growth. So one of the highlights is our Facebook following growing from 605 to 801. And as you can see with Instagram, we've had some steady growth as well. And so we encourage you to follow our platforms if you don't already, so that we can get more followers. We produced 2 videos this year with Warden Warwick. And as you could see, we reached 1,000 people for the Truth and Reconciliation video and 615 for the Canada Day video. And then up there's also a comment from the UK, from the Middlesex Heritage, wishing us a happy Canada Day during our Canada Day video. So it's just nice to see our content getting some international reach in terms of the audience. And then moving on to some of the website analytics, this is all from Google. One thing to highlight here is that 83.6% are new visitors to the website. So that 137,600 157 page views. Majority of those are new visitors. So it's nice to see the county getting some good traction, especially with this website. And moving on to the media releases. So all of our media releases that we have produced thus far have been picked up along with one council highlights and one warden statement by one or more media outlets. So here's just some of the titles that were picked up, with the latest being the Early Childhood Education Labor Market Study that you could see in our social media platforms as well. So moving on, Marcy will be talking about the website updates.
Thanks, Paul. So in terms of the website redesign, we also wanted to give you an update on that. We're continuing to work with each department to update content and refresh the layout. We commissioned a photographer in partnership with economic development to take some photos around the county and of our service areas, including the lodge and libraries. So we've been using those photos on the website and some of our other publications, and really happy with how those turned out. So Paul's also been working with IT and MLPS on MLPS's new website, and that will be launching next month. So stay tuned for that. And if anyone has any questions, we're happy to answer.
Okay, any questions? No. Councillor Smith?
Through the warden, not a question, just well done. Congratulations. It's sitting on the communications process and everything, everything's coming together. And I just want to say that the website and social media, it's gone from ground level to at the very top. So I just want to say, really well done. Thank you.
Any other comments? No, I would just echo Councillor Smith's comments. I think it's great. And I've been really pleased with the results, and I'm glad to be participating in some of the videos too. So it's great. Thank you. So I do have a motion that the communication strategy update be received for information. Who'd like to make that motion? Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Vanderheyden. All in favor? So moved. And now moving on to action items. 11B1, Adelaide Metcalfe Official Plan Amendment number 13, Sydenham Ridge, file number 39 AM OPA 13, and some additional information. Whose report is this, Dirk?
Yes, thank you, Madam Warden. So I'll give you very briefly. Sydenham Ridge, they've applied to amend the Adelaide Metcalfe Official Plan, and it would establish a special agricultural policy area that would permit an assembly hall, overnight accommodations within a dwelling in a farm winery on a roughly 50-acre property. The matter was before council on May 25th, 2021, and the report is attached. My previous report with the more details on it is attached. Motion was passed at that committee meeting that amendment number 13 be deferred pending a traffic and noise study completed by the applicant to be peer reviewed by the township, that a draft site plan agreement be prepared, and that a rural events licensing bylaw also be prepared. Also attached, excuse me, also attached to this report, the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe provided a letter which outlines the activities that they undertook to address council's deferral. I did include in this report 2 paragraphs that I think sort of summarize my previous report, and essentially my opinion was at that time, and it continues to be, that from the perspective of the county as the approval authority and in that role, that the principle of land use at this location is acceptable, and it's sufficient for county council to rely on the township to implement the bylaws and site plan, et cetera. And then generally, I do believe that amendment number 13, I've reviewed it against provincial policy statement and the county's official plan and the township's official plan. And I was satisfied that it's consistent with the PPS and conforms with the planning documents. So again, I did attach the previous report that goes into a lot more detail. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that or go over that if you'd like. And then I would also note that the township's CAO and the applicant's planning consultant are in the audience today, if there were any questions that council had that were more detailed that I wouldn't be able to perhaps answer.
All right. So any questions? Comments? Councillor Ropp?
Thank you. Through the warden to Dirk. If I remember this right, I think that noise seemed to be biggest issue, and I'm just wondering how that was addressed. And I think noise into the late hours and that type of thing, how that was addressed and
through the warden, I'll just sort of, I attached to the package is the letter from the township CAO. And also I'll just maybe, if I can, I'll just highlight a few things that are actually in that letter. So the council's direction, and you're absolutely correct, I should say too, that noise was a significant concern of nearby residents and those that address county council. So a noise study was completed by the applicant, and then there was an additional noise study completed by the applicant. It was peer reviewed by the township. And as the report outlines, the neighboring property owner also had a noise report completed on their own behalf. And so the township's peer review consultant, which is Dillon Consultant, they reviewed all of those documents. They did recommend a number of things, including that the township develop and adopt a noise and nuisance bylaw to provide businesses and residents a clear guide to their rights and obligations. Both those bylaws were prepared and passed at council at their February 2022 meeting, February 7th. And then Dillon also confirmed that certain mitigation measures would need to be included within the site plan agreement, which is that township implemented document.
thank you. Just to follow up to that, I think seeing this report, what I did really like about this report, they seem to find a common ground. And I think that's always what's being looked for here, right? Is to be successful for everybody. And it's a win-win. I think if we can come up to that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? If not, then I'm going to ask that the amendment number 13 to the Adelaide Metcalfe official plan be approved, and that staff be directed to circulate a notice of decision as required by the Planning Act, and that the notice of decision indicate that all written submissions received on this application were considered, the effect of which helped to make an informed recommendation and decision. So mover, Councillor DeVete, seconded by Councillor Rott. All in favor? Opposed? So moved. Now moving on to correspondence and information items. We have 11C1 electronic payments for September 2022. Any questions? No, then looking for a mover. Councillor Burghardt Jessen, seconded by Councillor Richards. All in favor? Opposed? So noted. And now moving on to 11, I guess we can go 11C2 all the way down to 11C8. Anybody want any comments or pull anything out for discussion of those? No, then I'm going to ask for a mover for that to be received for information. Councillor Corneliuson, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All in favor? So moved. No inquiries. And now we're into closed session. And now I'm going to ask that the committee of whole convene in closed session at 1:28 p.m. in order to consider personal matters about an identifiable individual and labor relations or employee negotiations in accordance with subsections 239, 2B and D. Mover, Councillor Richards.